Hello, everyone? Can you hear me? Is this not too loud? Very well then, let's begin. Hi, and this has been a long time coming. I did promise that I would be giving my final thoughts and impressions on Pokemon X and Y after I beat the game. Unfortunately, the very moment that I beat the game happened to coincide with university exams, and basically I've had to take a complete break from recording for basically 2 whole weeks because I've been completely flat out, so that's why there's been a bit of a video lull for that time. Of course, in my spare time, I have been spending it all breeding. I now finally have a full team trained up in my Pokemon Y version. And I've even already had a couple of Wi-Fi battles, which I have. The replays are up, and I'm ready to download the replays on my other game and record them there. Yeah, I actually figured that it was best to do my Wi-Fi battles on my non-capture card 3DS, and then actually record the replays on the other one. Probably a little more convenient than having to trade over all of my EV-trained Pokemon to the other game, and it means that I can actually use them at live events as well. So, enough about that, though. You're here to hear my impressions and full opinions on Pokemon X and Y. Now, yes, I have promised this for a while, and now I sound like I'm repeating myself, so I'll just get it out of the way then. So I'll basically be talking about everything about the game, what I liked playing through. I kind of wish I would have been able to do this right after I beat the game, just to give my impressions, but in a way, I actually think it's good the fact that I've actually done about 2 or so weeks of breeding, because it lets me talk about those mechanics and how I like those changes. So that's actually a pretty big thing that actually makes this generation for me, so I'll get into that later. But anyway, I thought I'd talk about first the game itself, like just as a Pokemon game and as a game in general. Just how it feels, what I feel were the good points, what I feel were the flaws, because every game has its flaws. And yeah, I'll try not to compare to earlier generations too much, because I really don't like doing that. I like to think of every generation as unique. But so yes, I'm going to be doing that, and then I'll be talking about the story of the game, and there I probably will be making some comparisons to earlier games in the series, and then I will be talking about the new Pokemon lineup, and which ones I find the most interesting out of them. Now, I may end up splitting this into 3 videos, one for each segment, if this gets too long. Just be warned, I tend to talk a lot about things like this, and, yeah, that video where I introduced you all to how I got into Pokemon ended up taking a full hour, so yeah, not entirely sure how long this one's going to take, but just sit back and enjoy the ride. So, firstly, on to the game itself. And, you know what, the thing is, I'm a bit of a weird person. I hate being negative. I actually find it physically painful to say anything negative, unless a game truly deserves it, like Sonic 06. Bah! No, sorry. Anyway, aside from some exceptions, I find it very hard to criticize a game. It's really weird, and again, it's also part of the reason why I avoid reviews with a passion. I actually really don't like negativity at all. However, I do understand that every game has its flaws, and there were some things about Pokemon X and Y that really did irk me, and I'm going to have to get that off my chest. So, I'm going to follow a certain other YouTuber's lead and put the bad stuff first, just to end the video on a positive note. So, the bad, and I'm already feeling the pain of having to say this, but okay. I'll start with my one biggest gripe about not only these games, but the generation as a whole. Now, this is something that's a little bit weird, because this thing that, to me, is a massive source of dislike, other people praise it. There are other people who really love this, so it's kind of a personal issue. But I'll just get straight to the points. Too much old, not enough new. I'll state that again. Too much old, not enough new. This seems to be the sort of buzzword for this generation, and I don't like it. So, let me just explain. I think the way that conveys this perfectly is when I got into the game for the very first time, I was about to take my very first steps into the grass of Kalos and find my very first wild Pokemon ever in Generation 6. And you know what? I think my actual reaction speaks for itself. So I'm going to go ahead and play the video clip from the second episode of my blind Let's Play. But we have grass. What will our very, very first encounter in Gen 6 be? Let's find out. It is... Oh no. I don't know whether to laugh or cry. I'm half laughing, half in pain. Oh, Pidgey, what? Oh, wow, that was underwhelming. I'm sorry, but you're fainting right now. That one moment, I already started to have a bad feeling about things. And it turns out I was right. What happened there, and I was really afraid this would happen, ended up setting the tone for me for the rest of the wild Pokemon encounters in the game. So basically, yep, my real problem I have with X and Y, and to me it's the biggest flaw of the generation. To some though it's a source of praise, again, so I might just be weird on this. I know there are a lot of people who think I'm a freak for thinking like this, but to me, when I play a new Pokemon game, I want to see new Pokemon. It's, you know, a whole new generation, a whole new set of Pokemon. It's one of the main reasons why I even bother playing new generations. I want to see something new! It's a new generation, you know? And to be immediately greeted by a Pokemon that has been way too common in past games, it just really disappointed me, and then things only got worse from there. So you see, on that Route 2, you've got like, you know, about maybe 3 out of 6 Pokemon that are old Pokemon, and they tend to be more common than the new ones. So, yeah, that was annoying. But then you have later routes, like Route 8, where you have, okay, for old Pokemon, let's see. You got Spoink, Zangoose, Absol, Bagon, Drifloon, Mienfoo. That's 6 old Pokemon. How many new Pokemon you got on that route? Inkay. And that's it. Just 1. 6 old Pokemon to 1 new. Yep, and not even that, the Inkay is one of the less common things on the route. You know, it actually got so bad that at some parts of the game, I outright missed new Pokemon because I had no idea they were on the route. They were just buried under a heap of old Pokemon. For example, I went through the route just before the Mirror Caves without even knowing Dedenne was even there. I would not have thought to even look further because I kept seeing nothing but, you know, nothing but Nidorino, Machoke, those things, like Staravia. I just didn't even think there'd be a new Pokemon there at all, and yeah. Also, I ended up making up for that on my other file by actually getting to Dedenne, but that didn't help with the route just outside the daycare, surprisingly. Despite it being a pretty massive route with a lot of grass, guess what? I went the whole game in both versions, both X and Y, not even knowing that Spritzee and Swirlix were even there. Yep, it took me until the very end of the game before I realised that I actually missed 2 of the version exclusives that were hyped up in marketing, because they were buried under a heap of old. I don't know why, but this makes me really angry. It seems to be, like, okay, don't get me wrong, I actually do like the fact that, that there's variety in the Pokemon on the different routes. As annoying as it was seeing Pidgey, Weedle, Bidoof in the first few routes, they were only restricted to the first few routes, and that was good. Then, like, you know, in every later route, you pretty much do tend to see a whole new batch of Pokemon every route. They don't repeat stuff that often, which is actually pretty cool. Unfortunately, to me, that's just hampered by the fact that it's all Pokemon we've already seen before. See, to me, as a long-time veteran of the series, when I see something like Pidgey, I don't think, oh yay, nostalgia. I think, oh great, as if I haven't seen enough Pidgeys in my time. You know, it worked in a game like Heart Gold and Soul Silver that was meant to be a remake of an old game. And I really like that game for including so many Pokemon from so many generations. And I'm all for having variety in different generations of Pokemon appearing. In this game, you got Pokemon from all 5 generations appearing. The problem is, I really think you should keep it to the post-game, because when you got a new generation and you got new Pokemon, and you shaft those new Pokemon for old stuff in their own debut, that just angers me. Like, you've got not only that, but combined with the very small number of new Pokemon in this generation, and the fact that most of them are actually quite rare, it's really weird. Like, yeah. To give you another example of how annoying this gets, so I was speaking of Dedenne before. Now, after Dedenne in the Kalos Pokedex, now, the new Pokemon are ordered in Pokedex order. By the rough order, you'll be finding them in the game. So after Dedenne, you have, what's that thing called again? Carbink, that's it. Oh, good lord, this is a case in point. The new Pokemon have got so shafted out of what should have been their spotlight, I'm starting to forget their names. But anyway, you got Carbink next. What's the next Pokemon in the Kalos in the new Pokemon list? Not Kalos Pokedex, I'll talk about that later, believe me. What's the next Pokemon in the new Pokemon list after Carbink? Goomy. Carbink is obtainable just before the 3rd gym. Goomy is obtainable after the 5th. That's a pretty long gap of time with no new Pokemon whatsoever. Yes, you go through 2 whole gym leaders without seeing a single new Pokemon. I'm sorry I'm getting ranting like this, but this really makes me angry. And it makes me even angrier the fact that they really build up these new Pokemon in the marketing. In the lead up to Generation 6, we got so many reveals of new Pokemon. There are a whole lot. Little did we know that those Pokemon revealed were almost all of it. There really weren't that many new Pokemon that weren't stuff we hadn't seen before. Part of the reasons I went into this game blind was so I could get my reactions to the new Pokemon I'd never seen before. Unfortunately, there were maybe only about a handful of ones that I actually had never seen before. So yeah, maybe this wasn't the best game to do blind. It's just kind of annoying that way. And yeah, the fact that they spent all this marketing time focusing on all these new Pokemon, they just revealed like a huge amount of new Pokemon on that Pokemon website. And then you get the actual game, and the new Pokemon are shoved out of the spotlight in favour of a huge cascade of old ones. I feel lied to. I really do. This is further compounded by the fact that Mega Evolutions are only given to old Pokemon. And not just old Pokemon at that. There aren't any Generation 5 Mega Evolutions. And that kind of disappointed me. I'd seen Mega Evolutions all the way up to Gen 4, but I at least expected something from Gen 5 would get one. Though, I shudder at the thought of them making Mega Excadrill, but that's beside the point. I mean, even if it was Hydreigon, I can actually really see Hydreigon getting a Mega. Hydreigon was already strong as it is, and I'll talk about how I feel about Mega Evolutions later, but Hydreigon was already strong as it is and didn't really need a Mega, but you know what? I'd actually be happy with it, or even maybe Zoroark getting a Mega, because, hey, Gen 5... And I understand why no Gen 6 Pokemon would be getting a Mega form, because, you know, it gives them time to look over the Gen 6 Pokemon, see them in action, see which ones fans like, see which ones fans don't, see which ones need a power boost, and see which ones don't. And then after that, then they'll decide which Kalos Pokemon need Megas. I can kind of understand that. But not giving Gen 5 Megas as well, it really feels like they're overly pandering to fans of older generations there. The new is getting shafted, and the old is getting all the praise, and that's something that, when you have a new generation, keyword new, that's not very good, really. You know, I seem to liken this to, you've got a new movie that's coming out, and you've got a new actor who's billed as the lead. They're a complete unknown, and this is their first time in a major role. And they have so much potential. They are an incredibly good actor, and this movie could make or break them. They could have their chance to become a big star with this movie. And you put all this marketing effort into, you know, promoting the fact that you've got this new person in the lead who is set to really make it their career debut. And then just before the movie comes out, you decide, no, it's better to have a more famous actor in the starring role, and you boot them out. To me, that's what this generation felt like with the assortment of Pokemon they gave you. And that really saddens me. The new Pokemon are not going to get a chance to shine if you shove them out of the spotlight in their own show. And yeah, I do believe that a new Pokemon game, it really should be the new Pokemon show. It really should. I didn't actually like Diamond and Pearl that much, but even this game didn't fall. Even that game didn't fall victim to this. Sure, they had some old Pokemon there, but they didn't overwhelm the new ones. Now, speaking of ratios to old and new, I might bring this up. You're probably going to be saying, oh, Gold and Silver were amazing, and I did love Gold and Silver, despite the fact that they did have a whole lot of old Pokemon, and they did kind of dominate the new ones in a way. The thing is, in that situation, the new Pokemon, not only do they have more new Pokemon than this generation, but they, well, only had 150 old Pokemon to compete with. Now, you got like 60-something new Pokemon, and about 600 old Pokemon for them to compete with. When you put all those old Pokemon right there, then they kind of get dominated and drowned out. It's just... Anyway, now, I will say though, I am all for inclusion of old Pokemon, and I'm all for not letting down your old fans. But there's a big difference between putting some elements of the old in and not letting it completely dominate the new, and making a new generation that's really new in name only. So let me just end on one final note. Black and White 2, I believe, did the balance of new and old right. There are exactly 300 Pokemon in the updated Nova Pokedex, and there are about 150-ish new Pokemon introduced in Black and White. So that means there was roughly a 50-50 ratio exactly of old to new. Not only that, but the old Pokemon were really well chosen. They complemented the areas they were in well, they complemented the new Pokemon well. They just went together really well, and it was this great harmony of old and new there. You had 50-50 either way. That's how you do it, Game Freak. This generation? Well, there is 450 Pokemon in the Kalos Pokedex. There are only almost just under 70 new Pokemon. If you calculate that, do you know what it amounts to? Only about 15% of the Kalos Pokedex is new Pokemon introduced in this generation. 15%! Yeah. That, I'm sorry, that just makes me sad. Really, really sad. There's always the chance that Game Freak will add more Pokemon via DLC, but still, to me the damage has been done. This feels like a generation that's being targeted towards the old and not the new, and that's not a way you want a franchise to go. And I'll just end off on that point right there. And sadly, you know, I actually don't like doing this, but I've got another negative to mention. I actually only have 2 more negatives on my list, so I better get these out of the way quickly. My second negative is the experience share, and I'm sure this is something that a whole lot of people have been thinking that I'd say eventually. So basically, the experience share in this generation. I personally rejoiced when I heard that it's the experience all from Gen 1, except not horrible. The experience all was ridiculously annoying. That if you even have it in your bag, all your Pokemon gained like next to no experience from battles, and the only way to turn it off was to put it in your PC. It was just downright irritating and next to completely worthless. Now they're bringing it back, but with a twist. It doesn't split the experience, so, well actually it does halve it, but all the Pokemon get equal experience from it and pretty decent experience at that. I was loving this. I was thinking, hey, this is going to be a great way to get my Pokemon up to like level 100. It's actually pretty good for that. And you get given it right pretty early in the game, just after the first gym. And, you know, you can conveniently turn it on or off at your leisure from the items menu, and it seems all well and good. What they didn't tell you, though, is that if you're turning on the experience share, you're basically turning on easy mode. This is something that was not apparent to people until they started playing the game. The experience share is bar none one of the biggest and most ridiculous game breakers in the history of the main story of Pokemon games. Even using an Uber is less game breaking than this, and I'll tell you why. The moment you turn on that experience share, your Pokemon are going to be horribly overleveled throughout the entirety of the main story. And I mean the moment you turn it on. I decided to opt out of it on my actual YouTube run. Well, actually, I did do it for the first 2 gyms, and some of my Pokemon were about level 28 before the second gym, which was 25. Once that happened, I knew I had to stop. This was getting a little out of hand. On my other game, I decided, just for experimentation purposes, because I feel you can't give an opinion on something until you've tried it yourself, I would turn on the experience share for the entirety of my other game. That and I wanted to rush through the story in that one just so I could get to breeding. The results were very, very noticeable. By Clemont, I was about the level I was at in my X version when I was facing Valerie. By Valerie, well, I was at the level of Olympia. By Olympia, I was about high enough level to take on Lysander and reduce him to a total joke. And that was before I even fought Lysandra. By the end of Lysandra, I was in the 60s, and I was already over-leveling Wulfric. I get up to Wulfric, and guess what? I was at the level that I took on the Elite Four at in my X version. Want to know what level I was by the time I got to the champion? I was about 75-ish, and I know that's what level a lot of people who use the experience share are at that time. Yep. Before I even set foot in the Pokemon League, I out-leveled the champion considerably, and suffice to say, the entire league was a total joke. Of course, it let me have a lot of fun at Seabold's expense. Die, you evil monster! But, that's beside the point. Basically, I was over-leveled for every major fight, and every major fight turned out to be a complete and total joke. Yeah, the whole game, I just breezed through it like it was nothing. You will feel like every single Pokemon on your team may as well be an Uber Legendary when you're at that level. It's kind of ridiculous, and yeah, not to mention that this is not a hard game. As far as Pokemon games go, it is one of the easiest, Seabold notwithstanding, and Lysandra. I'll get into those a bit later. I'll talk about the gym leaders in my story analysis, I think. But anyway, I have nothing wrong with a Pokemon game being easy, but when you're handed a gigantic game breaker on a silver platter this early, that's where things start to get a little annoying, and the game just feels really unsatisfying when you go through it like that. The sad thing is, I've gone ahead and looked at a couple of other Let's Plays of X and Y on YouTube. The vast majority of them abuse the experience share for all it's worth, and that kind of saddens me. Either they didn't know, or they just did it and didn't realise how horrible they'd be breaking the game. I actually saw one playthrough that had their starter in their 3rd form, as in level 36, before Coroner. Yep, considerably before Coroner, actually. Yikes, that's just insane. For all of those who want their game to be a little more challenging, I recommend turning the experience share off. I actually did have some challenge in the battles. The gyms were still relatively easy, but Lysandra and some of the Elite Four were actually quite tough with the experience share off. And the thing is that the experience share is actually killing any chance of any of the in-game trainers being recognised for how difficult they really are. Lysandra, I believe, is the toughest Evil Team boss we've gotten yet. But most people won't know that due to a combination of experience share and just going ahead and using your legendary for the final battle. Yeah. It's got to the point where simply because the experience share exists, There are very few entries on that one boss on TV tropes in the Pokemon subsection for X and Y, and there are some in-game trainers, I think, like Lysandra and Seabold, who really deserve the moniker of that one boss. And yet most people don't know because they're using the experience share. The thing is, I've actually got nothing wrong with, well, you see, Fire Emblem Awakening, let's say. Fire Emblem Awakening does have some really, well, it's possibly one of the most incredibly broken games in the series. You can insanely break that game in so many ways. You see that video I uploaded a little while ago of Pan completely soloing Chapter 19? Well, those were her normal stats by the time I got there. Yeah, that's how much you can overlevel yourself and break that game. The thing is, that game actually still remains fun because you got a lot of focus on story, characterization. That draws you in. With Pokemon, you don't really have all that much in the way of that. Not only that, but in Awakening, you have the higher difficulty levels where you will need every game breaker you can get. A lot of the game breakers in that game feel totally fair on Lunatic mode, and for that reason, I can kind of excuse the game for it. Pokemon is an already easy game, and when you're already breaking it further, it does get kind of annoying. Now, I will say, I'm not against this experience share. I have actually used it in the post-game, and I'm really loving it. In my other version, it's really great for training a whole team to level 100 quickly, and it's also amazing for a certain feature that I plan to make an entire YouTube video dedicated to, EV training multiple Pokemon at once. Wow, that is incredible, so convenient, and so fun. And it only takes less than an hour. So I love the experience share for that. The problem is, I think the real fault here lies in when you're given it during the main story. You're given it right after the first gym. Right after the first gym. I get the feeling that if you're given this later, then maybe it wouldn't be that much of a game breaker. Maybe after the 6th gym, maybe. Or even, now if you're only given this in the post-game, then I understand why some fans would be angry about that. But I feel it would totally alleviate all the problems with it. It's completely fair in the post-game, I find. It's got a lot of great uses in the post-game. And it would be nice if it was like if you had like maybe the normal experience share, and then you got upgraded in the post-game, like the Mega Ring maybe. I don't know. But yeah, okay, I feel that I've actually forgotten to explain exactly why the experience share makes you so over-leveled. Basically, here's what happens. Your Pokemon that participate in battle gain the full amount of experience. Every Pokemon that doesn't participate in battle gains half of the experience. Now, at first you might think this is kind of perfectly fair, however, if you've got a full team of 6 Pokemon, you have one battle and the rest get to 0.5, you're actually gaining 3.5 times as many experience points per Pokemon defeated as you would normally. Yep, you're more than tripling your overall experience gain. No wonder your team gets so overleveled. That's basically what happens. Like, I know a whole lot of games that actually increase the experience you gain on easy mode. This really feels like it. It feels like you've turned on some kind of easy mode, and, yep, you're just getting all this extra experience. Now, if the game actually labeled this, actually warned you about this, warning, using the experience share will make the game noticeably easier. Like, it was funny, there's a certain weapon in a certain game that's like a ridiculously broken weapon that you unlock after running through a serious number of hoops. It's so insane that the developers had some fun at their expense and actually had in the weapon description a disclaimer saying, warning, using this weapon may make the game no longer fun. It feels to me like the experience share should have had a disclaimer like that. And I'll just leave it at that. Now on to my third and final negative, and this is a relatively minor one compared to the others, but anyway. I love the Kalos region, I really do. It's actually my favourite region in the series, and I'll be going into that later. And even the swamp routes. You know, I kind of did bitch a little bit when I found out the swamp routes were back and the getting stuck was back. You know what? If you watch throughout the rest of the thing, I never found any of the swamp routes anywhere near as irritating as they were back in 4th gen. I don't know why. The fact they're shorter overall, the fact that they're restricted to only a couple of areas as opposed to, I don't know, the Safari Zone. It just feels actually less tedious than it used to. However, there was exactly one route in the entire game that was the epitome of tedious. So much so that when I got up to this route in my Y version that was considerably behind X, when I finally got up to this route in Y, my first thought was, oh sweet Arceus, not again. This route is Route 13, the aptly named, and aptly numbered actually, but I just realised, the aptly named Lumiose Badlands. Yep, emphasis on the bad part of Badlands, because I personally feel this is the single worst route in the entire Pokemon series. Let me just give a few reasons as to why. So, you got a desert route. Deserts are often annoying, how can you make this one even more annoying? Well, you got wild Pokemon. They don't actually appear in regular grass or sand. They appear by popping up as little mounds that go after you, and when you touch one, you get into a wild encounter. When I first saw this, I was thinking this was a good thing. I was thinking, hey look, the wild encounters are actually visible to you, and you have a way of actually running away and avoiding them. Or so I thought. There are a few problems with this inherently. The first is, because they are pre-existing on-map encounters, repels will not help you against them. Yep, your repels are totally useless. Secondly, there's the fact that there's the wind. The wind randomly and occasionally blows from one side of the thing and completely prevents you from making any notable progress to the west part of the route. Unfortunately, just about every single place you'd want to visit on the route happens to be to the west, naturally. Not only that, but of course, this wind makes it extremely difficult to outrun the wild Pokemon encounters. And even more so, this wind happens randomly and sometimes takes as many as like about 2 minutes to go away. It is really annoying, but you know what? The annoyance of this route does not stop here. Let's say you actually do run into one of these wild Pokemon. Well, you know what happens? There are only 3 Pokemon you can actually find in these dust piles. They're all old Pokemon as well, which echoes my earlier annoyances. Not only that, but well, basically, because there are only 3 Pokemon, you only really have to catch 3 Pokemon here, and you're done. You never need to get into one of these wild Pokemon encounters ever again. And that's where the problem lies, because you can't just repel them away. No, you'll be forced to get into more of them. But what makes this even more annoying is the fact that out of all the Pokemon you find in these dust piles, 2 out of 3 have a 50% chance of having Arena Trap and preventing you from running. Yep. You thought Trapinch in Ruby and Sapphire's desert was bad? Think again. Now you got Trapinch and Dugtrio on the same route. It's incredibly difficult to avoid wild encounters, and well, yeah. You have a 50% of a 66% chance of, so that's about a 1/3 chance of not being able to run away from a wild Pokemon encounter. And speaking of wild Pokemon encounters, sometimes these dust piles respawn right after you've already cleared out one of them. Even worse, it's possible to have one spawn on you right after you've finished dealing with one, forcing you into a wild Pokemon encounter again. You didn't see this because it was on my Y version and thus the non-capture card DS. But there, I once had that happen to me 3 times in a row. Yep. I was stuck in the same spot for 3 battles in a row because another dust cloud happened to spawn right on top of me after I'd already dealt with one. Yeah. So no wonder they call their place Lumiose Badlands. And no wonder it's connected to Lumiose because that city is the city of extreme and utter hatred. So, yep, I do not like that route. However, I will emphasize there was only one route out of 20-something out of over 20. Only one route out of over 20. The rest loved every second of them. So, it's a pretty minor downside in the long run. I just never, ever want to go back to that desert again. Though I have a feeling that we might have to, seeing as... Anyone else notice the fact that you got so many other entrances to the Kalos power plant that are actually locked off to you and you can't actually access? Either post-game DLC or it could actually be the Looker quest, I just realised because I haven't actually started that yet. So yeah, I might actually have to go back there. Oh, joy. Joyous, joyous joy. And that's the bad out of the way. Phew! Now I can start to talk about the good, the things I liked in this generation, and I really will emphasize this is a good game. This is a very, very good game. As much as I've said all those other things, they're relatively minor gripes. The old versus new thing was really my personal thing, and I know some people like the fact that they're focusing on the old, so I won't actually go into that here. These are still very good games, and they hold up very well to the other games of the series. What I feel is the game's biggest advantage is one that I actually praised another game for, Fire Emblem New Mystery of the Emblem Heroes of Light and Shadow. Unfortunately, that game will never see the light of a Western release, but there is a fan translation available. That was a game that really catered to everyone, and it had something for everyone. This game, oh boy, there really is something for everyone in Gen 6, there really is. If you're focused on Pokédex completion and collecting, well, you've got an enormous assortment of Pokemon in the Kalos Dex, and you've got the Friend Safari to aid in that. You like collecting shinies? There's chain fishing, the Pokéradar's back. I really do like the fact they've brought that back. It was very nice. I never really used it myself, but yeah. Apparently there's increased rate of shinies in the Friend Safari as well, and an increase on the Masada method. So if you like hunting for shinies, this game has you covered. You like cultivating berries, this game has you covered. I've only recently just started planting berries and I'm already really enjoying it. This is the first time since Gen 3 I've actually wanted to bother with berry cultivating. But I actually really like it. The fact that all of your berries are in one easily flyable to location, the fact that they've made everything more streamlined, the whole addition of sudden mutations, the whole addition of extra things you can use your berries for. I mean, not just holding them in battle, you can use them to make juice that increases or lowers effort values. It's pretty amazing. And then, of course, if you're a battler, primarily like me, or a breeder, then this game really has you covered. You've got the Destiny Knot, the additions to the breeding system, and the fact that it's easier to get perfect Pokemon, the fact that the judge will tell you if you have low IVs, an absolute arse you send for people who breed Trick Room teams, and you've got, you know, the online battling modes, even the simple addition is the ability to choose your music for Wi-Fi battles. It's interesting, but I've really been more, like, I can seriously, when I play battles with the Champion theme, or the Elite Four theme, or the Team Flare Boss theme playing, it really gets me pumped up, and it really makes the battle feel that much more exciting. I really love it. Seems like a minor feature, but it kind of really adds an extra layer of enjoyment for me. So anyway, this game really does cater to the battlers as well, and really, yeah, it's actually got something for everyone, and I really like that. There's just a huge amount of stuff you can do in this game, a huge amount of stuff you can get busy with, and it's just, I get this feeling I'll be putting a lot of hours into it. It's just amazing, I will say. Oh, I forgot to mention, of course, you know, for you've got the super training, the ease of EV training now with horde battles and with the experience share and multiple Pokemon EV training, and you've also got Pokemon Me for those who just like the Pokemon for their looks. I am totally not on that crowd at all, but hey, if you do that, and if you like to, you know, care for your Pokemon like that, which I sort of do, you got Pokemon Me, and that leads me into my next point. Pokemon Me actually deserves a huge amount of praise, and here's why. The amount of effort that must have been put into this is sheerly astounding. You have over 700 individual creatures in this game. All of them have their own animations, their own different variations on their voices, their own sensitive areas they don't like being touched in, their own reactions to being fed. They even eat differently, and the amount of work put into this, to just give so much personality into the 3D models of over 700 characters, I don't think there's been any game ever that's done anything near close to that. And that is just incredible. And there's so many little touches in Pokemon Me that are pretty nice. For example, Slugma. You cannot touch Slugma at all. Really sad for Slugma, but it kind of makes sense. Ferroseed. Ferroseed is extremely difficult to touch. If you want to pat a Pawniard, you will be in for some, you know, serious pain. there's just a whole lot of stuff that's just a whole lot of little touches there that, even though I actually don't really use Pokemon Me all that much, it's actually quite nice. Not only that, but I am actually really liking the minigames. The yarn header thing, I've actually gotten 5 stars in that, and I'm actually really enjoying playing it. It's actually surprisingly addictive. The other thing that I will say, that as a competitive battler, I will praise the fact that Pokemon Me, the boosts from it that you get, like the evasion and critical hit ratio, as far as I can tell, they do not apply in Wi-Fi battles, and yeah, I'm liking that, because let's just say you would have pissed off a lot of people if you'd actually done that, so bravo for not doing that. So yeah, that is something that really deserves a lot of praise. And other things I can praise about this game I'll probably have to do in the other videos, but suffice to say, I really do love these games. And I think actually one more thing I need to mention. The Kalos region itself is quite possibly my favourite region in the history of the series. The whole place just feels so... the atmosphere is amazing. It feels like it could be a real place. You've got all those routes, the routes look incredible, but they almost feel incredible. Particularly, I cite that route where you're going up into the rich snob mansion. That route with those trees to either side and that camera angle, and you sort of going up that bike path with trees sort of hanging over either end. I've been to real places like that, and that place really gives a feeling of things like that. Again, a whole lot of Kalos just feels like it could be a real living, breathing place, and I really like that. Again, Kalos has been my favourite region in the whole series. Of course, Lumiose City notwithstanding. I know I made all these jokes about Lumiose City. If you avoid the places where people are jerks to you, it's not really that bad. And once you get more stage, then things do get a little bit better. But, yeah, it is a bit annoying that the place is overrun by evil snobs. As is the palace of these pretentious snobs. Yeah, won't say that. Then again, the game makes it pretty clear that you're meant to dislike that guy, so, yeah. Anyway, that's pretty much all I'll say about the general game, and wow, this did take a long time. Next time, I'll be talking about the story of the game. And also, I'll fit in the gym leaders and the characters into there too. So I'll see you then when I talk about that.